The night team is on special assignment tonight. There has been a story going around for decades about whether some flexible goo, a toy called Flubber, is really buried somewhere in Pawtucket.
Yeah, the stuff was made by a local company back in the early 1960s, but pulled from the market after reports of some people having physical reactions. Well, we sent NBC 10's RJ Heim to find out, did it really happen, or was it just urban legend?
You may remember the original 1963 movie Son of Flubber, starring Fred MacMurray, the sequel to The Absent-Minded Professor, one of the first films with a toy company marketing tie-in.
We just don't want a Flubber foul-up on our hands.
Or the 1997 remake starring Robin Williams. Hassenfeld Brothers, today known as Hasbro, made millions of units of the gooey, flexible polymer it called Flubber. That's a mixture of rubber, mineral oil, and possibly borax, sodium borate, according to company papers. You can even make your own at home.
We made Flubber in our class, but we added more sodium borate to make it a bouncy ball.
After Flubber hit the shelves, in early 1963, 1,600 reports of rashes and sore throats tied to the product prompted an investigation by the Food and Drug Administration, a lawsuit, then a voluntary recall by Hassenfeld Brothers. Merrill Hassenfeld, even though no direct link was found, said, "We want to be 100% certain of the safety and health of our children." But what to do with tons of recalled Flubber?
It's big. We've got to handle it big. Everything about it.
Back then, there was no Environmental Protection Agency, no Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management. It was often common to dispose of unusable products in ways that would be considered unconventional today. Now, according to the 1998 book Toy Wars by G. Wayne Miller, the company was allegedly unable to dispose of it at sea.
It will not sink, it will float.
NBC 10 digs deeper through a search of Coast Guard records, but finds no evidence of any attempt by the company to do that. The book goes on to say, allegedly unable to burn it at the city dump.
It does not burn.
Why not?
When you burn it, it just produces a black smoke.
There was no Pawtucket incinerator at the time. The closest one? Providence. Now, back in the 1960s, unwanted materials would be taken to places like here. This is where the Fields Point incinerator used to be. A search of the City Hall archives, while not complete, shows no evidence of any attempted burning of Flubber. So where did it go? According to the book, the head of the company allegedly buried his inventory behind a new warehouse and paved it over for a parking lot. There's no quote in the book, so with permission from the author, I search his notes and audio recordings donated to the URI's Special Archives Library. The following is from an interview conducted in 1998 by G. Wayne Miller and then Hasbro CEO Alfred Verrecchia, who was at the helm starting in 1970.
Flubber was I feel like this predates you. What happened to all that? There's a rumor, not a rumor, the myth is it was buried.
Not a myth, it's buried on the Delta Drive.
It is?
Yeah.
Does it bubble up ever? Right?
That's the myth, that sometimes it bubbles up when they build it. I mean, it's buried on the Delta Drive.
How much of it?
I don't know.
I reached out to Verrecchia for this report. He said he has a sense of humor and was repeating the urban legend, but had no first-hand knowledge of what happened to the Flubber. Now, 60 Delta Drive, Pawtucket, is the former Hasbro facility referred to as Delta Drive or the D Street plant. The building was sold in 1997 and now houses a packaging and marketing company. Letters between the Department of Environmental Management and Hasbro from 2008 show an exchange over allegations by a former Hasbro employee that Flubber was buried under a parking lot at the D Street plant. Hasbro denied the allegations, citing a 1997 environmental site assessment when selling the property, including soil and groundwater sampling. Hasbro attorneys write, there is no concentration of any pollutant sampled for that exceeds reportable standards, and there is no evidence in any such sampling locations of any buried Flubber material. Hasbro has won 2 EPA awards. It's ranked the #1 toy company in the Climate Count scorecard and prides itself on how green the company is today. If Flubber was made with borax, a naturally occurring element, in small doses it can be an irritant to some, but non-carcinogenic. However, exposure to high concentrations can cause serious health problems.
When it's in Flubber, it's pretty low concentrations.
But there's no number on what a high concentration is.
Exactly.
Hasbro kept its Flubber recipe close to the vest and states tests before and after the outbreak could not find a cause and effect relationship with the rashes. If it was just made with rubber and mineral oil and no borax, it's benign and poses no hazard. The Johnson & Wales chemist wonders if the mineral oil, a good environment for viruses, could have been the source of the 1,600 reported rashes. So the question remains, what happened to the tons of Flubber recalled more than 50 years ago? Exact recipe unknown. Only adding to the mystery from the legendary toy company. DEM is satisfied there's not an issue and has closed the case, but leaves the door open to look into the matter further if anything surfaces. RJ Heim, NBC 10 News.